start recording. This is Game Design 2, Week 5. We're working on the NavMesh agent with biped animation. And I'm going to have to write some stuff down. So, empty game objects for the start. And then as a child of that is a collider with the mesh renderer turned off. And that just kind of gives us a frame of reference for how tall everything should be, where everything should be. This capsule, by the way, is at 0, 0, 0 as far as the agent mel goes. And then I think I'll make a child of like the parent, and I'll just name it hip. And then I'm basically just building geometry. That geometry is just going to kind of sit as a child of the hip. Let's make sure the collider's in about the right spot. Yeah, that looks good. And I would totally use spheres, except you'd have to scale the spheres down, and that would be not ideal. It's very important, especially when things are rotating, that the parent, the thing that's actually rotating, is set to scale 1, 1, 1. So we're going to have, what are we going to have? Let's have not that color. We're going to have the hip. And then we're going to have the right thigh. And then we're going to have the, well, how do I like to say this? I don't know, we could call this like the right hip bone. I'm not sure what the name of the joint is right there at your hip for each leg. Socket? Sure, could be that. Left hip, left knee. So you're going to have an empty game object here, which is the hip, and then you're going to have your right or left hip, whichever way you're looking, and then you're going to have your knee. And if we did this, we could probably do this with numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so underneath all of that, you've just got geometry, right, attached as children. We might even have to go as far as having feet. Or we might want to. Which would just mean, you know, right foot or and then left foot. But I'll show you what I mean. So this is how we want to set it up. Each one of these numbers here is an empty game object with a scale of 1, 1, 1. Make sure that your game objects are in the right spot. When I build this game object, I'm going to hit F to focus on the hip. And then I'm going to go to create empty and just drag it over into the right spot, like that. Now I'm going to name it at each turn. So this is right hip. Oh. What do you need, Chiquita? So that guy there, let's make that a child of your, let's name that first hip.
Oh, here?
Double click this hip. Can you double click it? Okay, so let's rename that like box. parent game object on all of that.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds and I'll show you what I mean. So I need to create a cube. This needs to be skinny. Actually, I kind of like having it be like that. Oh, here's another smart thing we could do. We could select each one of our game objects and actually give them a special like icon. So if you look right up here in your game objects, you can click and you can set them to be like yellow, for example. Or you could set them to be dots like this. Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to have them be little circles like this. Let's see, Agent Mel, you're not anything, so you're none. And then these gizmos are a little bit too big, so I'm just going to take them down like this. That'll actually give me a way to reference each one of them. I think it will. Okay. So I'm going to duplicate this thigh model and bring it over here. And make it a child of left hip. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on this. There's my hierarchy. So, parent of all, capsule, game objects, in center. Okay. So get your sections, you get your hierarchy set up right. So gizmos, and then slider. Put it at 1 meter, I'd recommend. This one? Yeah. So, for the Y. The Y. Okay. Gotcha. 1 meter what? Yeah, okay. Each one of your pivots, the things you're rotating on, those are just game objects, right? Yep. Okay, good. Oh, you know, let's check this here. Let's also check the center of the pivot. Okay, so I feel like your left hip object is not in the right spot. It should be at the top of this, right? So when you move this, the model's going to come along. They'll just have to recenter your model. Okay.
Should be a thing.
They'll close your hips.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I want everybody to make sure that they're using is instead of center, which will not show you where the actual pivots are, I want you to use this pivot up here. So you can click on center to go to pivot. The reason this matters is if I selected, for example, like multiple objects, if it was on center, the center would be in a different spot than if it was on pivot. So it's important to know where those gizmos are. I'm going to freeze this and continue working. So your empty game object for your left hip.
Oh.
Oh, you've already got it. Click on that one there.
Here. Yeah.
Double click on it. Okay, so and this box, what's this box? Oh, that is the box?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the
Oh.
empty game object, box underneath.
Okay, so
You got it. I'm going to go ahead and build feet because I think that's what I should do. guess I could copy components. Interesting. Okay, so I have something like this, and the hierarchy has to be just so. So let's recap. Everything circled in black is an empty game object. And the right hip and the left hip are children of the main hip. And then everything else is just has a child underneath. And then the models, you might notice, are on the same line. So I'll leave that there for a minute. You're going to want your names to be in place before you start animating, because if you change the names, your animations will go away. The animations are based on the names of the things that you're animating. And specifically, we'll only be animating those game objects. Don't plan on animating the actual models, because they'll stretch.
I just don't know if I'm actually doing this. How it's.
Cool, I can help you with that.
Yeah, just. Yeah, it's just. Just for me. Put there.
So I'll offer one suggestion. Take this left hip, drag it onto that hip.
Okay. On here?
And do the same with the right hip.
Okay. Over here.
Yep, that's right. And then this right knee is going to go as a child of the right hip.
Okay, so here.
Yep. And then left knee, left hip. Okay, so the idea is when you move the left hip, the left knee will come along with it because it's a child. Let's click on the hip. I just want to check that they're all game objects. Okay, good. Let's check on left hip, left knee. Good. Right hip and right knee. Perfect. Keep going. You're doing great. if you want to make those smaller, the gizmos and then a little slider right here. Yeah, they're real big and all. By default. Right, Dan? Yep. Yeah, good call, good call. Okay, much better. Much better. Cool.
You know, one day I'm going to come into this class, there's not going to be any machine noises, and it's just not going to feel right. It's not. I'm actually getting used to them now, and it's, when they're gone, it's not going to feel right.
Huh. Interesting.
I won't miss them, I'm just going to say, it's going to feel weird.
Okay, do the best that you can to have them be on the floor. My hip is about 1 meter up. I made my hip just very slightly higher so that I could fit my feet under there. I probably should have just made my shins shorter, but I figured it didn't matter enough. And I can absolutely add geometry to my pivots. Like I could add a sphere to those. I'll just add those in later. They're not going to matter. One of the other things I like to do is I like to add materials to know which is right and which is left. Usually red and blue, right? Red for right, and blue just because it's not right. There's not really like a lello color. I guess you could do lilac, but even so, that's reddish still. Oh my god. What's happening to that guy? They're grinding him up. He's really sad today.
Oh my god.
Oh god. I'm just kind of waiting for everybody to get caught up as far as having a model. Y'all do not need to have face yet.
But it's fun.
It is super fun.
Oh, jeez.
Whoa.
Whoa, what the
Particle
heck did
effects?
you do, Foster?
You'll see. It's awesome. It's not awesome yet, of course, but it will be.
No, it's off by bed. Fine, come on. No.
It's hair. So the idea is as he moves, like, it stays in the same spot. So it should move kind of like this. I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, that's what it'll look like. It's kind of a snapshot. That's pretty great. Yeah, that's what's missing. Currently the cubes are all following the camera, which looks dumb. So I have to change that to just be parented to the world. So that looks a lot more realistic with the cubes not following towards the camera. Okay, maybe not realistic. That's maybe the wrong word. We got a little bit of noise too. Okay, there you go. It's perfect.
Okay, there you go. Is it supposed to be?
think our thighs may be a little small. I like using this one because it lets me leave the top in the right spot.
Oh, okay.
And then just drag this one down.
Oh, okay.
And we should probably do it the same way each side. So if you hit undo a couple of times, we can select both of these and move them the same.
So, like,
Yeah, okay, so select your left knee and your right knee.
okay, here.
So no, those are the models. We want the knee.
Yeah.
Game objects. So that one, control click this one.
Okay.
Okay. So let's hit F to focus. Oh no, let's hit W. Yeah. Okay, and let's click on pivot. Let's move those to about halfway between where they are now.
Here.
Yep. Yep. And so they should both be at that same level.
Okay.
Now we can select our knee models. We can move those up to where those pivots are. That's too far.
Okay.
Down, down, down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Here.
Now let's select these two. And let's go to the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just drag that line down. Don't scale it that way too. Hit Control Z.
Okay.
Just click on that white line.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Let me just.
That's much better. So make sure
Okay.
the left knee. Let's click on W. Okay, there we go. And let's click on the right knee.
No.
Just the one. Just the one.
Here.
Just the right knee.
No. Okay.
It's okay. Perfect. So I have two more pivots, and they're for the feet.
Okay, yeah.
So one more empty game object at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right where the ankle is.
Yeah, which is right over here when.
Feeling good?
Which, which.
And you ready to go? Yep. All right.
Here's
Jen, ready to go?
Okay.
I'll be right there.
Go.
Elizabeth, you ready to go? Okay. Ready to go? Ready to go. Under renderer, it's the very last one. Open that up, change from billboard to mesh, and then change the default particle system to like default diffuse or some other material. Okay. Ooh. So keep scrolling all the way to the top. So any one of those. Yeah, good. And then finally, you see how they're looking at the camera? Yep. Scroll down just a little bit and change from render alignment view to world.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Got foot?
Yep.
Okay.
Foot and
On the right foot?
Yep, it's.
Okay. I don't think the right foot's in exactly the right spot.
Oh,
So
right
check
foot.
this one. Put it right under there.
Oh.
And then finally, let's actually do this right now, okay? I'll take this left foot,
Okay.
drag it to the left knee.
Okay, here.
Yes. And fix the positions and then we'll animate, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Let us. Well, that's the question. Should we take a break now? We should probably take a break now before we do this animation. I know it's early. It's 8:43. 8:44 now. Let's take a 10-minute break. I don't know. Jada, do you want to take a break?
I'm break is good, but at the same time, if you want to go
Yeah. No, let's break. Let's get it over with.